Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in and welcome to Debonair Dialogue. I am so excited to be here. So much to say, so much to do, so much to talk about, but I'm so excited to be here to have this platform. And thank you guys for tuning in. So we're just going to go right into it. I have a lot to say, like I said, so I want to go ahead, hit the ground running with this and let's go. This is our first episode. I'm extremely excited, ready, a little bit nervous, but I know this is going to be great things. So thank you to all of the viewers that are watching, that are tuning in, everybody that's been so supportive. But let's get right into it. Let's go.
Let's do it. Devin, congrats. Pilot episode, you're here. What led to this journey of Debonair Dialogue?
This was something that I've always seen for myself, but it didn't happen the way that I thought it would. Well, let's before we get into that, let's address the elephant in the room. Because everybody's been like hitting me up. There's been so much like, drama and like mess centered around the last podcast that I was a part of. And I will be honest with you guys, like I'll be completely honest. It was a good run. Like, it was a good run. Like, we formed somewhat of a brotherhood. Of course, some of us were closer than others. But the shit did just not end the way that I would have had it end. But I'm extremely thankful. Again, I'm extremely thankful that I'm no longer a part of that. And I'm extremely thankful. And I know that everything happens for a reason. So I'm excited to be here. I feel like if it weren't for the different things that I learned while being a part of a group, then I wouldn't be as successful or as prepared to do it alone or do it on my own. So, no hard feelings on my end. I wish them the absolute best. But I'm excited for what's in store for me, for my show, for Debonair Dialogue. And I know we have some good guests lined up. So I'm just extremely excited and ready.
Got you. You're here. You're killing it. What is your overall vision for Debonair Dialogue?
The overall vision, like I want it to be a place of like healing. I want it to be a place of like great conversation. Like, I tend to have conversations with people all the time, like like whether they're friends, whether they're strangers, whatever, like I can literally like talk to anybody. And there's just always so much to talk about and so much that you can get from a conversation, right? So I just want to have guests on my show where we talk about whatever, like literally anything. Some things will be like heavy, deep topics. Some things will be lighter than the others. But I'm just hoping to start with that. Like people are getting healing. People are getting conversation. People are learning. People are just watching the entertainment piece, right? But eventually I want this to like lead me into my next realm of public speaking and like motivational speaking and just being there for people. So I'm hoping that this is going to be like the eye opener or kind of like put me out there to, to the world, to kind of reintroduce me in a sense. Cause I don't want them to just only know me as, Devin from the other podcast. So, yeah.
Understood. Speaking on the other podcast, and it took a journey, being here. What did you gain from being on the other podcast, whether it was positive, negative, that would potentially help you out with this one right here, Debonair Dialogue?
I got a lot out of it. I think that it just taught me a lot about myself. And it definitely taught me patience. I feel like there were times like, when you think about doing things with the group, you think of like a group project, you think about like, being, at work where you have to work with people, right? So this is something that is more than a hobby, but it's something that is extracurricular in a sense. So it just taught me perseverance because there was a lot of times where it was difficult, like working as a group. And it's not that I always felt I had the best answers, but it's difficult when you really feel strongly about something and it's like, well, we can't really go that way with it because everybody has to agree. So I think just more so at this age, reminded me how to be a team player, when to be a silent leader, when to be a vocal leader, and just kind of like navigating with, again, like we thinking about work and we think about school and things like that, where you have to work with people. And this is a situation where we didn't have to work together. We really didn't have to, but it was like, originally we had the same end goal in mind. So yeah, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And we aren't going to be messy and crazy, but of course people want to know at the same time, and we're going to address that, but also your vision and future plans, all those great things. When did you know that it was time for you to step out on faith and to build your own platform?
Honestly, I was struggling with it for a while. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, okay, Devin, you don't feel like your voice is being heard in this moment. So now that's why you want to leave the podcast, like with an attitude, like I didn't want to be that way. So I had to like check myself often. I had to run it past other people to say, these are my thoughts. This is how I feel. Like, am I tripping? Or, like I didn't want to leave prematurely. Like I didn't want to leave the show and then things take off. And it's like, okay, well, if you didn't have an attitude, then, like if you would have humbled yourself, then you would have, you wouldn't have missed out on your blessing. So I really struggle with it. I don't like to quit. Like I really don't like to start things that I don't finish. But I had been feeling this way for quite some time. And a lot of that had to do with the personality of one person in particular in the group. And I won't drop names because I'm pretty sure that everybody will gather who that one person was. But I just didn't like it. I struggled with it for a while. I was like, God, like, this is something that I really love. I want to be a part of. And I don't want to be a quitter because that was my major thing that I felt like, okay, if I walk away, I'm forfeiting my blessing. I'm forfeiting, like, having my voice heard. I'm forfeiting, like having people be able to receive something from me because I feel like I do have like a lot of valuable, things or gems or whatever. So I contemplated for a while and I actually, talked to a really good production person, and just expressed my feelings. And I'll never forget what she told me. She said that I don't think you're going to have to make the decision. I think the decision will be made for you. And literally a week later, the decision was made for me because shit just hit the fan, went completely left. And that's all I want to say about that portion of it. But I didn't have to make the decision. And it was just like, I was so at peace with it because it's like, God, my heart, what I want to do. That I don't want to be a quitter. That I've been biting my tongue. I've been taking the punches, going with the flow just for the sake of the group so that we could just keep going, So when that happened, it was just like, again, like I'm at peace with it because I was already thinking about, I was going to leave. But initially I wanted to stay at least until like, our 1 year anniversary, whatever, but it didn't work out that way. So I'm extremely happy that it didn't work out that way because God doesn't make mistakes. So I'm happy to be here. And yeah, it's amazing.
That's beautiful. Being at peace. When did you know that you were finally at peace?
I think the way that I handled the conversation when things really went left. So just to be completely transparent, there was a whatever issue, we were all on the phone together, and some things were said. I tried my best to just like, again, because I was already thinking about, okay, I'm getting ready to chuck the deuces. So like all this that we're doing, Devin's not going to say much. Like I'm going to be on the phone. I'm going to be a team player. I'll give my opinion when needed, but I won't be here much longer. So I'm not really with the back and forth. So in that moment, in that conversation, before we could get off of the phone, one member of the group said to the rest of us, well, I'm done with the group. I'm done with y'all. Devin's a snake. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the passwords to everything. Best of wishes to y'all. Y'all continue with the show. So then we had to think about it to say, okay, well, like, we were completely shocked for one, but then after that happened, it's like, what do we do now? So we already like, we're like, okay, we're just going to finish out the season, like probably 1 or 2 more episodes before the end of the year. And then we'll, visit everything next year. So that was the conversation that day, whatever. And I was still at peace with that. Like, okay, if you're quitting, okay, that's not what I would want for us, but okay. So then the day after that, the conversation was, actually, I'm not going anywhere, but I am kicking Devin off of the show. So if you guys want to continue, Devin will not be a part of it. And even in that conversation, I had nothing to say. I did not argue. I did not say, okay. I literally didn't say anything. Like, I haven't spoken to them since, well, some of them, since this thing. So, and I felt like, normally, like, I'm not a person of drama. I'm not a confrontational person, but I don't tolerate disrespect. And I did feel disrespected, but again, I was so at peace. Like, I literally didn't say anything. I was just so at peace. And literally probably a week after that, that's when production and I sat down and we started coming up with all of the concepts, the content, to just go ahead and move forward. So I felt at peace just having the opportunity, having the support, because I didn't start the former podcast. I was just brought on as a member and we did a lot of the legwork to get it up and running. However, a lot of it was, one person doing a lot of like analytics and like, just finding a studio and like all of that I had never, thought about or had any expertise on. So just having the support from production, and of course my family and friends to encourage me to keep going and not let, that experience like deter me from moving forward. So
you've, of course, stayed encouraged. You found your voice. What was that whole process like of finding your voice, rediscovering Devin, and then getting support from family and friends? What was that whole experience like?
Staying humble and realizing your purpose. Because I feel like things would be different for me if I weren't as humble as I am. I feel like I wouldn't have as much favor as I do if I wasn't as humble. I feel like the relationships that I've built would not have been built if I wasn't as humble. And just kind of knowing like who you are, knowing that, like you have a promise from God, knowing that you have a purpose. So it's like, you can't let obstacles stop you. So this was a really big deal for me to like start my own show. Like I've never done anything like this before. I love like being, am I in front of the camera? I think I'm in front. Am I? Yeah, I'm in front of the camera. Yeah. I love being in front of the camera. But I just never like imagined so soon that I would do my own podcast. But I know that I have a lot to offer. And it's like, I don't want to keep like making myself like seem big headed to be like, oh, I have so much knowledge or I'm an expert at everything. So everybody should listen to what I have to say. But I know that God does like speak through me and gives me what to say. And it just feels good to converse with people, talk about deep issues, like share your opinion. So just realizing that I do have a purpose and a promise and knowing that my voice needs to be heard. So it's like, if the platform that I was originally a part of is not something that doesn't, it no longer exists, then okay, what's the next platform? What's the next avenue? And I don't give up. So if there's something that I want, I don't take no for an answer. So even if I have to go around to get what I want, I never take no for an answer. So
I love that. When people will tune in to Debonair Dialogue, which is what they're doing right now, what do you want from them to gain and to say after seeing it?
I want them to do a little bit of everything. When people see Debonair Dialogue, I want them to feel like right at home. I want them to feel like, oh my God, like, oh, that's my homeboy, homegirl. Like Devin's my homeboy, homegirl. Like I want people to feel like they can connect, like they know me that well to where it's like, oh, I feel like I know him. Like I know there's a lot of people on TV. Portia, for example, I love Portia from Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I feel like that's my girl. Like I feel like we could easily like kiki, go have drinks, whatever. But I want people to feel like they can relate to me. I want them to feel like this is a safe space. I want them to feel like, wow, like you've been through some things, and because of like your personality, your attitude, even your looks, people would never realize like, oh, you went through that. So did I. Like, I want it to be some type of takeaway, like something tangible, like, you heard something funny, it brightened your day, or, you heard a serious topic that you could relate to, or you want to take that topic and then go share with your family. Like, I want it to be something tangible, and it won't always be deep. It won't always be heavy. Cause laughter is good for the soul too. I love to laugh. I love to have a good time. So I want it to be all of that. I even want people to leave crying sometimes, to be like, oh my God, like, like, oh my God, I'm watching Debonair Dialogue and I just, my mascara's running up. Like I want those moments because I feel like they're needed, and I feel like emotions are needed, and it's okay to address your emotions. So.
That's dope. What type of guests do you think we can expect in the conversations from those guests?
Any type of guest that is willing to come on my show will be on my show. Like, I literally want everybody. I want gay, straight. I want men, women. I want white, black, other ethnicities, but those are like the ones we normally call out first. And people that are like-minded like me, that love to have good conversation, love to share some insight, and love to be transparent and share what you've been through. And I was going to say I think, but I'm going to say that I know. I know for sure that anything that God allows us to go through, he does it for a reason. And I will say that there's been so many things that I've gone through, and I've asked myself, like, God, why am I going through this? Or I don't deserve this, or I prepared this way so that I don't go through this. But, like you go through, and you go through it for a purpose. So I feel like everything that I've been through is so that I can come and talk about what God did for me. So it's like, not only is God getting the glory out of what he's done for me, but people can possibly or potentially learn who God is through what he's done for me. Like when I start to really get into the details of everything with y'all, you're gonna be like, you went through that. I'm be like, yeah, girl. Like unfortunately I went through that. Like, but I would say that I don't regret anything I've been through. Would I choose that for myself? No. However, God has been amazing. And honestly, for me to be here where I am, like I have not reached or like arrived yet at all. However, God has been amazing and I'm extremely thankful for where I am in my life right now.
That's beautiful. How did it feel, man, on doing the production meetings, whether it's talking on Zoom, coming in person, and now being here, of knowing that you are a boss now and that you're doing your own media platform? How does that feel for you right now?
Yeah, it feels surreal. Now it's still surreal. In the beginning, it felt surreal. Now it's still surreal, but it was something again that I always saw myself doing. And I'm still like, even today, like on my way here, like, I'm like, damn, like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Like, I'm really doing this. And I'm from Maryland, a small town in Maryland, like really like country suburb, it's not city at all. And I remember even when I went to college, it was also country. And then I ended up moving. After I graduated college, I accepted a job offer in Baltimore City. And that was my first time like living in a major city. And that's when I started watching like Love and Hip Hop and like reality shows. And I remember watching Love and Hip Hop Atlanta and seeing them like do their confessionals and like seeing them be at restaurants and, just the whole like city lights and the glam of it all. And I remember like saying to myself, like one day I want to do all of that. Like I love to get glammed up. I love the lights. I love the camera. I want to do that. Like I see myself doing that. I had no idea I would move to Atlanta. So to actually move to Atlanta and then to be doing everything or a lot of the things that I said I wanted to do, again, I'm just so thankful and it's so surreal. So I just want to make sure that I, dedicate the time to it that I need to dedicate to it. And this is my baby. Like the show is my baby and it's my first baby. So I just want to make sure I'm doing everything the right way and be very intentional, literally with every aspect, literally every aspect. So like even how we like doing photo shoots and like promo, like all that, I want to be very intentional about it. So yeah.
That's beautiful. And for that other young Devin who could be out there or they might be struggling to start their own show, what words of advice would you hand them on finding who you are, finding that voice, and just getting started?
I would say there's so many components. Pray. Like prayer life is important. Pray. Start with praying. But I would say to anybody that's a younger Devin or a younger anybody that wants to start their own journey, whatever, you have to be humble, you have to be transparent, and you have to trust God. And I feel like I know for sure, I keep saying I feel, let's take that out. I know for sure that those are the three components you need. Like you have to be humble, you have to treat people nice, you have to be sweet. Like I have never understood people who just are sour or are mean, are nasty. And we've all been through things. And one of my prayers has always been like, God, don't let my heart change based off of things that I've been through. So, like even experiences with people in the last podcast group, whatever, I don't want to have a phobia of, okay, the last time I was in a group setting, this is what happened. So I don't ever want to be in a group anymore. So I think it's about just realizing like, keep being intentional, keep praying, keep being humble, treat people nice, treat people well, like do what you can to be a blessing. If it's money that you could do, be a blessing. If it's your time, sacrifice it, be a blessing, and it pays off. And then God is going to like in return, like do all that for you. So, and that has been my experience. That's been a lot of people's experience that I know, and I know it to be true and to work. So just be humble, pray, and do what you do. Know that you're purposeful and don't let anybody stop you. I never take no for an answer, like ever. The only time I took no for an answer, I think today I was at the mall and I bought this really expensive jacket that I did not want to buy. And I was like, do y'all have teacher discounts? No. Do y'all have I thought of every discount in the world to try to get, and they didn't do any of them. So I took no that time, but I never really take no for an answer. So that's important. You have to persevere and just be strong.
Mm-hmm. Not taking no for an answer. Where do you think that comes from for you, having that drive?
My mom and dad, for sure. My dad was a lot street smarter than my mom. And then my mom is more smarter in different ways than my dad wasn't. But both of them, my dad passed away. So that's why I'm like, my mom is and dad was. So for those of you that are just tuning in, my dad did pass away last year. So, but he was a go-getter. My dad was a go-getter. Nothing deterred him. Like, he went through things in life as well, but he always kept pushing. And when you see strong people, then you have no choice but to be strong. Like, when you see them go through certain things, when you see a door not even close in their face, but when you see a door like get smack shut in front of your parents' face and see them keep going, then you really have no other choice. And it's also been a learning experience. Like, anytime that I've been told no or an obstacle has come, and I've like tried to find a way to keep pushing, it's worked out for my good, in my favor. So once, you have that track record, it's like, okay, well, no doesn't really mean no. And I don't want to say it like that. Let me be careful. No means no when we're talking about that type of stuff. No means no. However, in life, don't tell me no, because I'm still gonna get my way, and I'm just gonna work a little bit harder and push through.
That's dope. If someone told Devin from 2 months ago in a group setting that you were already in a group podcast that, hey, Devin, in a few months, you're going to have your own platform and you're going to be killing it on your own, what would you have said?
If someone told me 2 months ago, while I was still a part of the other thing, that I was going to have my own podcast, I would have been like, I don't need my own podcast. And that's honestly because I felt like, like, I don't need it to be like just me or about me. Like, I really enjoyed, the conversation with the guys, and I enjoyed the fact that we all had different personalities and, we meshed well. We all had something different to offer, for our viewers. So I definitely would have said, oh, thank you. Like, hey, thanks. And in my back of my head, I would have been like, you have no idea what you're talking about, because in 2 more months, I'm still going to be with this group. That would have been initially. But the thing I like about it is that I had no idea that I would be here, like, doing this. And I know that this is only the beginning of things that, come up for us and doors that open for us that we don't necessarily like anticipate or plan. And again, just staying humble, I feel like afforded me this opportunity. So yeah, I would not. If somebody would have asked me 2 months ago, I definitely would have been like, okay, you're just tripping. Yeah. Or I would have been like, okay, well, you mean like I'll do my show on the side and I'll still do the other podcast? Because I wouldn't have taken it as serious.
Man, again, during this time, you stepped out of your comfort zone, trying new things. What words of advice do you have for fellow creatives who are afraid to step out of that comfort zone, whether it's starting something new, getting a new job, just anything different, moving to Atlanta, a different city? What words of advice do you have on stepping out of that comfort zone?
Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. If you know, and again, that goes back to if you know that you have purpose and you know that you have like so much ability, like the world needs all creatives, like literally, like, even though we have like so many singers, let's use like singers, for example, when that type of like artistry. So like, there's probably 1.2 million R&B singers. However, there's so many people that you can reach through your music, and everything's not the same for everybody. So the way that I may receive something from this person may not be the way that I'm receiving it from somebody else. So it's just like, don't ever think that there's no room for your talent. Don't think that way. Like, God will make room for your gift, but know what your gift is and follow it, do it. Like, literally just do it. Like, just do it. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in what you want. And it's going to work out for the good. And treat people well. Like that's a really big deal for me. Like, treat people well. You never know how you can make someone feel or make someone's day or counteract what they're used to. A lot of people are used to getting treated badly. So imagine if you're somebody that comes along and gives them a feeling of love or hope or faith or a smile or, friendship that they've never felt before or haven't felt in a while. So keep all those things first. Unfortunately, our time is up. Like, I could ramble on and on and on. I'm so excited about the show. So much more to say, but I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Debonair Dialogue. We will be back shortly, so make sure you guys are tuning in. We are streaming on every platform now. We're on Instagram, Debonair Dialogue. So just follow us, check us out, share with a friend. Please, write send me a DM. Like, let me know, like, hey, Devin, I love this for you. Hey, bitch, I don't say that next time. Like, I want feedback. I want you guys to, again, feel like you can relate to me, and feel like you know me in a sense. So, not too much though, but feel like you know me. So, again, thank you all for joining in, being here for the conversation with Debonair Dialogue. And I look forward. I'm used to saying we. Oh my God, this is so surreal. Thank you guys again for tuning into my very own show, Debonair Dialogue, and we'll see you guys next time.